You're listening to Admitting Diagnosis, the Journal Watch podcast for the week ending December 12th. I'm Joe Elia. Admitting Diagnosis offers the week's essential medical news plus an interview. If you'd like to comment, call 617-440-4374. Links for everything are available at podcasts.jwatch.org. This week's interview explores two large studies that conclude that dietary supplements don't prevent prostate cancer. Here are the week's three essential medical headlines. FDA panel votes to ban two asthma drugs. Hemoglobin A1c predicts kidney disease and diabetes. And finally, our interview story of supplements in prostate cancer. Now for some details. An advisory panel to the FDA voted Thursday to ban two long-acting beta agonists, Severent, salmeterol, and Foradil, formoterol, for treating asthma in adults and children. They will remain on the market, however, to treat COPD. Whether the FDA follows its panel's advice in these matters isn't yet known. By the way, there is a nice background around long-acting beta agonists available from Journal Watch. I'll put the URL on the site. Next, hemoglobin A1c, when elevated, is a good warning of kidney trouble ahead for diabetics, even in the absence of albuminuria or retinopathy. Reporting in Archives of Internal Medicine, researchers followed almost 2,000 diabetic adults for up to 11 years. After adjusting for cardiovascular and other risk factors, the patient's risks for chronic kidney disease rose with hemoglobin levels above 6%. Those in the 7 to 8% range, for example, had a 2.5-fold risk for kidney disease, and those with hemoglobins above 8% showed almost a 4-fold increase. Finally, in this week's news, the story that's the subject of our interview, which is just ahead here on Admitting Diagnosis. Here is our interview. In two articles and an editorial published online this week, JAMA offers a look at two trials of dietary supplements given to prevent prostate and other cancers. Together, the two trials encompassed some 50,000 middle-aged and older men given vitamins E, C, selenium, combinations thereof, or placebo. After a follow-up of at least 5 years, the researchers noted no differences in the incidence of prostate cancer or other cancers in the participants. This led JAMA's editorialist to say that physicians shouldn't be recommending use of these supplements to prevent prostate cancer. The two studies have one author in common. Dr. J. Michael Gaziano is the first author on the trial using data from the Physicians' Health Study, and he's a middle author on the other trial, the so-called SELECT trial. Dr. Gaziano is a trialist at Brigham and Women's Hospital and the VA Boston, and he's an associate professor of medicine at Harvard. He's kindly agreed to talk with us about these studies. Welcome, Dr. Gaziano, and thank you for taking the time this afternoon.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here.
It now seems that the earlier studies that set up the interest in this were flawed in their design, and I don't know whether you were involved in those earlier studies, but earlier studies seem to indicate that there would be an effect from these supplements. Is that right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't characterize them as flawed in their design. They were designed, both trials that were the impetus for these two newer trials, were studies that were designed to address other questions. As the primary purpose of the study, the ATBC trial, an alpha-tocopherol beta-carotene trial, was looking at those two antioxidants in the prevention of lung cancer as the primary outcome, and it didn't show any positive effect on the prevention of lung cancer. They did look at a number of other cancers as secondary outcomes, and they found, a reduction in prostate cancer that was marginally significant, and a trend toward a reduction in colon cancer. And there was some support for this in animal and basic research. However, when you have a finding like that, you never know if it's due to chance, which it certainly could be. Then there was a similar finding in the selenium trial, which was designed to look at other cancers, which also saw a more dramatic, almost two-thirds reduction in the risk of prostate cancer. So these two trials were designed specifically to determine whether those previous trials had results that were due to chance or whether there was a cause and effect.
Oh, I see. So you were looking for the strength of the signal from those two earlier trials.
Exactly.
Okay. And you're uniquely involved in both of these, both the newer trials that were just published in JAMA. How'd you get interested in this research area?
Well, I've been interested in chronic disease. I'm a cardiologist by training, interested in diseases that affect us as we age. And these large-scale trials, the beauty of them is that you can look at a large population over a long period of time, looking at many disease outcomes that affect us as we age. And I've been involved in the Physician's Health Study for over 20 years. The original Physician's Health Study looked at aspirin and then beta-carotene as a cancer preventative. And we launched this trial as a low-cost way of doing these kinds of studies by mail about 10 years ago.
I see. And do you agree with JAMA's editorialists that physicians shouldn't be recommending these things to their patients to prevent cancer?
Well, I think that the evidence does not support a role. So I do agree, not to support a role of vitamin E and vitamin C, which are two of the more common vitamin supplements that are taken by Americans. If they're taking them with the hopes of preventing cancer, I think that there's perhaps a misguided hope at this point. There's just no support for vitamin E or vitamin C, or for that matter, for selenium, for being preventive of cancer the way we gave them in these trials.
Yeah. The only effect of those supplements was that their antioxidant effect. It seems that there's a signal, as one might say, out there that antioxidants and cancer aren't necessarily meant to cancel out each other.
Well, yeah, I think that we have to be careful that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It does seem like things that cause oxidative stress are involved in causing cancer. Ionizing radiation, cigarette smoking, which is an oxidative stress, exposure to the sun, seem to play a role. The question is, can you augment that defense against oxidation in our bodies simply by taking a single micronutrient? And I think that what we've shown here is that taking these micronutrients for 5 or 8 years in the respective studies doesn't augment our antioxidant defenses enough to have a clinical impact.
Well, you're sticking very close to the data here, and you're to be congratulated for that. But now, what can clinicians tell their patients who are coming in and saying, "Gee, Mike, I want to take an antioxidant. I hear that it's that it's preventive against prostate cancer." And one of the sort of subsidiary signals that one of the studies found was that, in fact, there was a slight increase in risk from people taking, was it vitamin E? Yeah,
and that was seen in one study, but not the other. So again, this could be one of those kinds of findings that was a chance finding. Remember that if you look at many different outcomes, some of them are going to appear protective or harmful solely by chance, just merely by the number of outcomes that you've explored. So I'm not sure that there is a dramatic risk from taking these agents. But I think you raise a very good point. What do we tell our patients when they come in and ask us, nutraceutical X, micronutrient X, I'm taking it, I like to take it, I want to take it, I think it's going to do this, that, or the other thing for me. And I think it's important for physicians to put in perspective the things that we know prevent chronic diseases like cancer and heart disease. If a patient comes in and asks me how much garlic extract I should be taking, I'll say, well, let's start with your factors that I know are related to cancer and heart disease, like cigarette smoking and exercise. What's your blood pressure? What's your cholesterol level? What's your weight? And let's focus on those first. And I think it's important for us to give that kind of perspective to a patient. There's only so many things that an individual can do. If they think they're deriving benefit from taking antioxidant supplement X while they're still smoking cigarettes, then they've got really a misplaced priority, don't they?
It seems that you can't continue to smoke and to take vitamin E or an antioxidant and hope to be safe.
That's right. And I think it's clear that we should focus our attention, our patients' attention, on those things that we know are going to prevent chronic diseases from developing or manifesting, and we should reserve for the scientists those things that are promising but not yet proven until the large-scale randomized trial data, like we generated in these two trials, becomes available.
And Mike, you said that there are, I believe, I don't know that it was you, but one of the authors of one of the studies mentioned that there are there's a multivitamin set of results coming.
Yes.
At an unspecified time.
Yes, our study, we've got about 2.5 more years of treatment and follow-up with a multivitamin. The vitamin E and vitamin C was stopped at its scheduled end.
Yeah.
But the Data Monitoring Committee strongly recommended that we continue the multivitamin arm of the Physicians' Health Study 2, and we were able to obtain funding from multiple NIH institutes to support an additional 3.5 years of treatment and follow-up beyond the termination of the vitamin E and vitamin C arms. It's the only trial, large-scale trial, that I'm aware of that is looking at a multivitamin in the prevention of important chronic diseases.
In fact, these trials taken, or the 35,000 member individual trial was one of the largest ever undertaken, wasn't it?
It was one of the largest prevention trials.
Yeah.
And then in our trial, it was 15,000 physicians. The Physicians' Health Study was 15,000 physicians. The Selenium trial was 35,000 individuals from all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
Two huge undertakings, so 50,000 people helping us answer these important questions.
Well, we look forward with interest to the results from the multivitamin study in a few years' time. And
well, I look forward to sharing them with you.
Well, thank you, and thanks for sharing some time with us today, Dr. Gaziano.
It was my pleasure.
If you'd like to leave a comment on this week's podcast, call 617-440-4374. Links for all stories are available at podcasts.jwatch.org, where you will also find a collection of previous editions. The executive producer for Admitting Diagnosis is Adoriano. Join us next week, won't you? Thank you for listening. For the Journal Watch podcast, I'm Joe Elia.